Welcome to The Hustle with myself, your host, Ben Anderson, with two great friends who are moguls, entrepreneurs, and just great people all around. I've got Phil and Polina, who operate and run as a family CambridrgePSG, who, if you don't know, own some of the most powerful brands in the country, including Sugarfina, Once Upon a Farm baby food, Wild Friends, Foodsters, Tozy, Ancient Nutrition. I've got Powerful, Match Bar, True Dog, and Early Hands, to name a few. Some of their partners include names you very well know, like Drake, Jamie Foxx, Jennifer Gardner, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Tony Robbins, Ashley Benson, and Haley Stein.
That's correct.
So guys, how does all this work as a family? Tell me about yourselves.
Well, we're brother and sister, and we're partners in CambridrgePSG, which is a strategic opportunity investment company. And what we do is we invest in emerging brands that have between $10 and $100 million in sales, and we buy a minority position in the brand, get vested interest, and then help those brands grow to the next level and become more profitable, increase their revenue, help them with marketing, and all the other exciting things that go into running a consumer products business.
And if I'm not mistaken, the projection was somewhere around 96 million was the goal for total revenue in 18, and I think it ended with $296 million.
Yes, that's right.
So to say you're growing beyond measure is an understatement. So let's go back to the very beginning where it all began. You guys are immigrants from Russia, which ultimately I'm sure is a lot of the hustle where it comes from. So tell us, let's back up. Let's back up to the beginning, because I want the audience who's paying attention, who is wanting to be on a level like this one day, to be inspired. So tell us the journey. How does it start back in 1993, and how do you guys get to a place where you're at today?
Well, so our family moved here in 1993, and in Russia at that time, there was a lot of political unrest. There were 6 political parties with a power struggle, all trying to take control, and there was violence, mafia, organized crime was coming in, and so our parents made the decision to move to California, from Moscow to Southern California, basically. Wow. Because on our mom's side, our family has been here since the 80s. They were kind of the first wave of Jewish refugees, and we were the next wave. And our family on our mom's side really helped us get established here and kind of helped us rent an apartment and learn English and enroll in school and all the little things that we needed to do.
Do you remember those days? I mean, what's it like going through as young kids changing countries, let alone changing zip codes like we do today?
It was pretty hard. I mean, we came here not speaking any English, so we had to learn. I was placed in Russia. I skipped a grade, so I was put back a grade, and I had to learn the language. Philip kind of fit in right away, but I didn't. But it took us a couple years to really learn the language. We had to watch a lot of sing-alongs.
Right?
Well, that's how we actually learned, the Disney sing-alongs, where the little words to the songs would bounce on the thing.
That's
funny. We had
every
all
day.
of them, every single one.
I love knowing how that started. What was it? I mean, tell me, how was the journey? Was it something where you guys, your parents just in the middle of the night said, we're going? Was it, here's our plan?
Yes, actually. They
No,
snuck
there was
us in the middle of the night.
Well, but there was like a 6-month preparation, because I remember they were selling off a bunch of things that they couldn't obviously ship.
But as
furniture.
kids, I don't think we felt it until the day of. And then we're like, oh, I guess we're going somewhere.
What was the day of like? Talk me through that.
But I do remember, I remember the first day we got to this country. We came in the evening, and Philip and I saw in the pantry there was all these bananas and sodas, which in Russia we didn't have because there was no import or export at the time.
Oh.
So we were like, oh my God, they brought us to heaven. And so we had like 4 bananas each. And drank all the
Sunkist. We drank all the Sunkist and all the bananas.
Did you peel it, or did you eat the whole thing?
No, of course we peeled.
No, we peeled, but it was just like such a delicacy for us. It was so strange.
The things in perspective, I mean, coming from a country where you didn't have the commerce that is abundantly here, I'm sure that's where you took it, you like, we appreciate what's here, we're going to make the most out of it. Yeah. And your parents, the ability to kind of uproot your family, say it's what's best for the family. How old were your folks when they got here?
So our mother was already in her late 30s, and our father was already in his 50s.
They were super established then. It wasn't like they were starting their first life. They were It must
and
have been
no English.
No English.
And a lot of their credits for their master's degrees couldn't transfer.
Wow.
So they really had to start all over. And
They sacrificed it, for us.
They did.
They did.
And so, I mean, what do you think you guys now? Are they like blown away by what you've been able to do with the tools that you made yourself?
I think in some regards, yes, but in other regards, like Russian Jewish parents are always like, hey, it's okay, you know.
Don't you know the Russian Jewish mother?
So
You can talk to her every week and she'll be like, you never call me.
It's not enough. So here's a little bit of a
No,
secret.
but they are proud and they're very happy. We're very actually close family, all of us.
So you might not know, I'm sure you don't know, that my family's from Russia and migrated, and I had bar mitzvah, and I am half Jewish.
Awesome.
You would not think, right?
No,
I don't
but
look
this
like
is
it,
cool.
so mixed nationality, but I get it. And
So
so
you're
I know
not
the
hustle
stories of
bustle.
my grandmother packed her food for like an entire month in her little bag, and they came over here, and I'm a third generation, but I was excited to have this conversation, not tell you till I got here that we share that. We're
It's
in
in
common.
your blood.
It is in my blood, that hustle. So that's why I'm excited to know the story, because I'm here on a third generation. I like to know what those who came through their own eyes were like, because my grandma's stories seem like they're so far out of reality for me because it's been so many years. But that's why I'm excited to kind of hear more about your guys' journey. And when you got here and you got into school and you had to learn through the bouncy ball on Disney, how did you guys become accepted by your friends, and how did you get to be so culturated?
Well, we weren't. So we were punk rock kids in high school.
Love it.
Because we weren't
never
accepted,
got
so we kind of rebelled and we're like, okay, we're not going to be part of this crew because they don't like us and they make fun of us. So we'll be like the punk kids that rebel. And then we did that.
But it just fueled our independence. That's
Yeah.
why we're good, like working alone or just as a team versus.
And what did you guys do for activities,
fit in.
sports, for fun, fitting into American culture? Probably watching basketball and baseball and football, which probably isn't the main sport in Russia. You know, what was it like for kids in pop culture in the 90s, in the 2000s growing up?
I mean, I did like skateboarding, but it wasn't like a team sport, right? Because I was always kind of very independent. So I
Right.
had like this group of guys that we would skateboard when we were teenagers.
Right.
But then, I mean, a lot of my personal interests be after kind of that teenage stage was really around education. I went to UCI and work, right? Just starting out in business, interning for Congressman Ed Royce, moving on to work for a large Fortune 500 company in doing revenue operations, doing M&A, and that kind of fueled me.
We started work just even when I was in high school. My parents said you have to get a job if you want a car, so we weren't spoiled at all. And I think part of the hustle is we just wanted to make our parents proud that they didn't come here for the wrong reason.
Right.
That they came, they gave us the opportunity, and we were going to make them proud.
So what was your guys' first jobs? First actual paying jobs?
Well,
Mine was an Edwards movie theater, which I was 15 and a half, and I got fired from that job. That wasn't the first job I got fired from. I've been fired from Denny's as a server.
mind you, we were like 15. at
I
this
got
time.
fired from a ribs delivery job.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sure there's others that I'm forgetting.
So why were you?
I've
So,
repressed a lot of those memories, but yeah.
so why did you get fired from some of these service jobs? Did you just hate the food industry?
No, it wasn't.
was
It wasn't
beneath
even
you,
that.
Philip?
No, not at all. I just think that I always kind of beat to the to the beat of my
your
own
own
drum,
drum, right.
which doesn't work if you work for somebody else or somebody's corporation.
So did you know they
can't,
look-
you have to beat to the.
Right. Were you at that time like, I need to find something that I can own? I know I'm going to be an entrepreneur because I can't follow these rules. I'm my own rule setter.
Yeah, so Cambridge SPG got started because nobody would hire us, so we had to start our own. We're unemployable.
That's true.
So lesson learned. If you can't keep a job, it doesn't mean that there's no hope. It means you need to have your own career and just do it on your own terms, right?
Yeah.
That's okay. I love stories like Gary Vee, who flunked out of school or couldn't pass a class but is a mogul today, because sometimes it just takes your own way to make it the right way.
I like that.
Okay, so talk to me about the going to UCI and getting a job in the government. Doesn't seem like that would be something you would do when you're beating your own drum, or is that just for experience, or you just wanted to be a part of the culture? What's that all
Well,
about?
at that time, so that was my first, I guess, kind of serious profession, right? out of college, and I went into it because I wanted to go into politics. I was very passionate about politics, and I wanted to get involved in politics and thinking about actually as a career path progressing into politics.
Interesting.
But then that experience, so Congressman Royce was amazing. The office was amazing. But I think I kind of saw that the business community really had a powerful impact on politics, more so than other constituency groups. And so by seeing that, so my job at the congressional office was to meet with various constituency groups and kind of collect information on what's happening in the community and then put that into a report and report it back to the congressman.
Right.
And so I noticed that out of like military and various social groups, right, like the business community really was making the most significant changes. So it made me interested in business, right? Because I felt like business and politics were hand in hand, but maybe business was even more powerful than the politics.
Got it.
Right? Or have a bigger impact than the political side of things.
Okay, and then Polina, so we'll stop there when you got to the point
while
where...
Philip was working
what were you
with
doing?
Congressman Ed Royce, I got into custom homes. So I have a passion for interior design, so I dabbled in custom homes, and that kind of got me exposed to real estate and fueled the next chapter in.
And at that time, you weren't working together.
No, we weren't.
We have Phil doing politics and business development in his own mind at that point, and I have you doing custom home decorating, being artistic and creative.
Actually, ground up construction. So
Ground
I
up
work
construction.
with a developer. And
So you're overseeing a whole project at some extent there.
yes.
And that's extremely impressive to come in and break into this market, especially in Orange
Well, it was
County.
around the hype of real estate. So like 2006, early 2007, right before the crash.
Okay.
And then obviously.
So did the
took a
crash
pause.
play a part in you guys working together, or how did that all actually collide?
It did, but not until like late 2010.
Right. So Cambridge SPG was formed because we wanted to take advantage of the recession and start buying distressed real estate.
So what gave you guys the foresight, not being from here, that only, 20 years into American culture, you're at least understanding recessions and how to capture on downturns, which might be happening again. We'll talk about that in a second. But, so from the downturn, how did you guys decide to collide and work together?
So at that time I was working in revenue operations at DaVita, and Polina and I were talking, and a lot of the people that we knew in our kind of community were talking about the great deals that they've acquired, right? They would say, I just bought this building for 10 cents on the dollar from its prior pre-foreclosure value, or I just got this property for 15 cents on the dollar, right? It sold for 10 million, I bought it for 1.5. We're like, there's value here, right? Like, if something sold for 10 million, and sure, maybe it was overpriced and hyped up because of a loose monetary policy,
Sure.
But is it worth 1.5? Right? Like, that seems cheap. Like,
No way.
So we looked at historical real estate prices, and we knew that in each recession, when the price of real estate fell, it always recovered and exceeded its prior pre-foreclosure value. So when you look at every single cycle going back.
Right.
So we thought, okay, well, if, let's say a property did sell for $10 million and we're able to put together $1 million to buy it, what if it didn't return to 10 million? What if it returned to 5 million? That's still really good, right? And so that was our thesis. And so we got, in November 2010, we bought our first distressed real estate asset. It took us like 6 months to close. It was extremely hard because we really had no idea what we were doing. We just learned on that one. And then the one we bought after was a little bit bigger, and then kind of snowballed. And then November 2010 through December 2014, we ended up buying 44 distressed real estate assets in California and in Nevada. And then distressed real estate really was kind of fading out.
Yes.
Right? Prices were starting to come up.
So for your bubble where you're really buying up properties when you know it's under a historic value number, and that's only 4 or 5 years ago. Right. So if you're watching and listening here and you're like, how do I get my next break? Wait for opportunity, and it's only 4 or 5 years after that where you could have a company that generates $300 million in revenue if you play your cards right.
Well, but recessions make millionaires. They do say that.
They do, and you guys are proof of that. So I get that. 14, you guys started not buying as many distressed properties, or
Right. So with 2010, really the end of 2010 through 2014, we did 44 deals, real estate deals. We bought one property in 2015 and 3 in 2016. So much lower.
Much lower.
But during that time, we were looking at other sectors. So we looked at beauty businesses and retail businesses and eyelash extension places and bike companies that sold at Costco. And
businesses.
yeah, we just looked at a lot of different things. But we knew food because while we were in this real estate acquisition phase,
we had a little hobby.
Yeah, we're into fitness and health and eating clean and low sugar, and we developed our own food product. It was called Slim's Organics.
Okay.
And it was egg white based pops, kind of like chips.
Got it.
And we were able to make them taste amazing in the R&D kitchen.
Okay.
And we had our branding, and we were like ready to go. We could not scale it. We couldn't commercialize it because the commercial co-packers, the product itself was too delicate. So if it went on high heat, it would like explode, and then low heat for a long period of time.
Because of the egg white substance that it took to base the product?
Right. It was 90% egg white.
Got it.
Which is a commodity, which costs the whole...
Yeah, so when we first started looking at the product, the price of egg whites, like, it was half the price of where it was 2 years later. So the cost of goods didn't pencil. So we decided to not pursue that, but we made a lot of relationships in the food industry.
So you learned some great hustling lessons through the trying of your own really food brand for the first time.
Right.
And
it connected us to the relationships that we've built now that allowed us to basically take like an institutional approach to the business that we have now.
Interesting. So if you're starting a company out there, you're looking to reach and learn, it's not just the first time. If it doesn't all work out, it's all lost. It's the relationships you make from it. It's looking at it like a lesson from maybe a loss or two that you had and just building upon that.
Yep.
Right, and we lost with our own money because it was just a pet project. So.
Yeah. And look, it's if you lose your own money, you can. I'll take a loss if it's my decision, right? If someone else's money, you better be a little more careful, a little more sure of yourself. As investors, you know that. So walk me through how you now develop into where you are today, because I'm starting to see the picture come together. You tried your first egg white situation. It wasn't what exactly you thought it was going to be. It wasn't like a McMuffin. It was your own project. And now you develop into a plan where you're actually running a business that's focused on clean, holistic, food and products for not only babies but women or people of all places and all spaces. Yeah. So how does that come together?
So during this kind of 2015, 2016 period where we were slowing down on real estate because our model was no longer working, because there was no distressed real estate. There was fewer and fewer distressed opportunities.
Kind of a dried up market at that point for the most part.
And so we knew that our business was going to have to evolve, right? Because kind of during that initial period, there was more distressed real estate than we even had time to do due diligence on or had the money to buy. There was so much. And then, right, a lot of people came in, bought.
Yes.
So it was stabilizing. So during this time, we looked at a lot of different deals and a lot of different industries and learned and went through them. Never really executed on any of them, but learned a lot. And then one day, I was actually heading to Equinox to work out. And Jeremy Triefbach, who runs Stage One Financial, which is an outsourced CFO firm for a lot of different brands, called me, and he would pitch me deals for like 2 years. He would talk to me about all these different opportunities, and I never really kind of went anywhere. So he pitches me like 5 different things. They're not for me. And then he says, I just got retained by a company called Foodsters. They're in Santa Monica. Mm-hmm. They're competing in a $5 billion category, which is very stagnant. The bake mix and sector, and their competitors are Duncan Hines, Pillsbury, Betty Crocker, brands that haven't innovated for the last 50 years
at all at that point,
right? And Sarah Michelle Gellar, right, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, is one of the co-founders. So I thought, well, we know food. We thought we knew food back then because we didn't really know food. We thought we knew food. Now we know food a little better.
Yes.
But we thought we knew food, and we thought they're in Santa Monica, so we'll drive up to Santa Monica, which is a beautiful place, meet Buffy the Vampire Slayer. If it doesn't work out, we'll get a cool Instagram picture or Facebook picture, and then whatever. So we drove up there, and we were just blown away by their team. So very professional people, very analytical. They knew their market. And we just got convinced that the business was going to work out. So we led their Series A round. And they were projecting this was in September of 2016. So their projection for 2017 was to enter 2,500 stores, because prior to that, it was just a direct-to-consumer business. What ended up happening is instead of 2,500 stores, they launched 8,500 stores. They launched their single-serve mug cake product in every single Starbucks in the country.
Wow.
They were in Forbes like 6 times, cover of Entrepreneur magazine. So it became like very high profile. And they would name drop like, oh, well, Cambridge SPG led our round, so we got a lift into the industry from them.
Instant credibility.
Right. And then the next deal we did was Once Upon a Farm. And it was a very small company, less than $500,000 in revenue per year. And they were in their garage in San Diego. And at the time, when we were looking at it, it was very unique. And we actually looked at that company for 7 months before we ended up investing in it. Because Once Upon a Farm makes fresh baby food. And it's very different than shelf-stable baby food. And even though it's nutritionally better and the taste is better, and it's kind of appeals more to moms, the risk is higher because it's fresh baby food. And fresh food is obviously can spoil, and so the risk is much higher.
Right, I get that.
So we looked at the whole fresh baby food industry, the entire baby food industry, and convinced ourselves, or became convinced that Once Upon a Farm was the emerging leader in that space. And 7 months later, we ended up leading their Series A round.
So when you're looking at a company, because let's say that someone on this audience, no matter where they are, is raising capital or wants to raise capital, and you've seen a whole bunch of products, what are things that people should really prepare for an investor when they want someone to buy into their product, if they want that type of entry-level seed A round money?
They should know their facts, their numbers, right? They should know the size of their market, who the competitors are, their unit economics. Is the product going to make money? I mean, 2 weeks ago, for example, somebody pitched us a product, and I said, well, how much do you sell the product for wholesale? They're like, $250. I'm like, how much does it cost you to make the product? They're like, $250. I'm like,
the margins are terrible.
Okay, so you're basically just raising a bunch of money to spend on marketing, but you're not making any money on the product. Like, well, we think in the future we could. No. Like, there's companies that start with a 35% margin with plans to get it to 45, 50, etc. And it's not enough sometimes, right? Because you out of that margin, you have to pay for marketing and slotting and broker fees. I mean, there's a lot of expense that goes into rolling out a product, right? So whoever is pitching should know their unit economics, how the business is actually going to make money, because you can't raise money forever, right?
Be an expert on what it is you're pitching.
Correct.
Know what could go wrong, worst case scenario. Know what's going to cost you. Know your marketing spend. Just know the ins and outs.
Right.
So you've gotten into that's now your second basic product that you invested in at that point?
Well, so Once Upon a Farm, so it was January 23rd, 2017. I remember the day specifically because we were at the Fancy Food Show in San Francisco. It's a trade show. And I had to run out of the trade show to go to the bank to wire the funds. We completed the transaction. And the day after we funded, so it was supposed to be a $3.5 million round. We came in for $1.5 million. And there were all these other VCs and groups that were going to do the rest. The day after we funded, they were in a test in Target stores, and with hopes of the test going successful so they can go nationally. The test got pulled. So the day after we funded, they lost. So they actually had less stores, less revenue potential than it was the day before we funded. And then slowly after that, kind of everything that could go wrong went wrong. And a lot of that is because they were losing placement. Nobody else was ready to invest because they were like, oh, let's hold off. Let's see what happens.
High burn rate.
Right. They were burning $150,000 a month. So we're like, okay, we just put in 1.5. So
in
in 10 months,
no.
right, in 10 months, you're done. Right?
How are you guys feeling at that point? Or you're like, we just made a colossal mistake, like a bad investment in a home? Because at least a house will come back eventually. Or were you kind of like, we're okay here?
Oh, yeah. No, if it played out, it would have been bankrupt. Like, it would have failed completely.
So what'd you do?
We were actually, like, I remember thinking at the time, like, okay, if this this might not go very well. Like, what are we gonna do if we're gonna lose $1.5 million in like, very short period of time? It's embarrassing.
We just had to get more hands-on and start
Yeah.
reaching out to our friends in the industry and see what other VCs would come in and explain why. But then also that's where we got the Jennifer Garner idea. If you want to.
So what happened with Jennifer Gardner?
Well, so what happened is, so they were running out of money and nobody else was going to invest. So Polina and I kind of
And you guys
took
still
over.
fully believe in the product at this point? You think it's a good product?
Yes.
Right. No, the product was and is today excellent, right? But an amazing product needs a lot more than just an amazing product. It needs a strong team. So we came in, we helped them capital raise. That $3.5 million became $4 million. We oversubscribed it by like $13.5 million of interest that could not come in. And during that time, we were working with one of our operating partners, Greg Fleischman, to bring in Jennifer Garner. And the reason we thought that Jennifer Garner would be a good fit is because A, she's America's mom and everybody loves Jen and she's an incredible person, but also because we needed a megaphone for the brand because it's fresh baby food. It doesn't go in the baby food aisle where you would expect to buy baby food.
Interesting.
It's in the refrigerated section near other children's snacks like
Gotta stay
Go-Gurts.
fresh.
Right. So you needed to educate the consumer a little bit
Interesting.
because it's a new product, new
I
category.
love that
Fresh
that's a
baby.
pioneer in that space. First of its kind, right? That
Yes.
wasn't done before.
Right, it
It's
is.
a whole
It's
new
a
category.
new category. And so then over a 7-month period in many meetings and many negotiations, Jennifer Garner finally says, okay, I really like this idea. I'm in. It goes to paper it up with her business team. 2 weeks into that, because now they start doing their due diligence, they stop the deal. And they say, there's no way Jennifer Garner is joining this company. You have 5 people in a garage in San Diego. As soon as Jennifer says anything about the brand, your website will crash. Like, this is just no, right?
Yeah, you're not prepared for the distribution.
And so our response was, you're right. We're not ready for Jen to start marketing the company today. But in a year, right, once we get ready and increase our manufacturing capabilities, upgrade our website, do everything, right, we'd be able to leverage Jen. It will take a year to set up. So they kind of weren't buying it. So what Once Upon a Farm had that was very unique is their seed round. So the round of financing prior to us was all the food industry executives. So guys like John Foraker, who built Annie's Organics and sold it for $860 million. Jerry Fennard, who ran Kraft Mondelez and Avon and Godiva Chocolates. And Jeff Church, who did Suja Juice, was an advisor. And Bob Craig from Food Should Taste Good that sold for a few $100 million. Like, they had all these great food industry experts as their seed investors.
Got it. That's great.
So we said, well, we have enough smart people here at the table and experienced people to help put together the strategy, hire the right people, and build this organization before Jen ever says anything. And John Foraker, who's in Northern California, agreed to fly down to Beverly Hills to meet with Jennifer Garner and her people to basically add credibility to the company, right? Because he was an investor in the seed round. And it was supposed to be a 1-hour-long meeting, and he had car troubles and getting to the airport and everything. He's 30 minutes late to the 1-hour meeting. And you would think this extremely experienced, well-regarded executive
would be early,
would be on time, everything. He's 30 minutes late. Jennifer Garner's sitting there like... As soon as he comes into the room, Jennifer Garner stands up and she's his fan. She's like, my kids grew up eating Annie's. I am such a big fan of what you've done for the industry. I'm just impressed.
Bingo. That's great.
Right.
And he's like, well, my daughters love 13 going on 30. Or so huge fans. It turns into a 4-hour-long meeting. And at the end, they're talking. First, it was like intros and everything. And then they start talking about, well, what does Once Upon a Farm really need in order to be a successful business? Because it was very, very early, right? And so John is throwing out his ideas and what he did with Annie's and what he would do. And kind of speaking at it from the perspective of how he would help the company hire the right people. And towards the end, he's like, you know what? I'll do it. If the co-founders were Ari Raz and Cassandra Curtis, it's like, if they're okay with it, I'll be the CEO. Now, meantime, he's at Annie's, which is owned by General Mills. He's on the board of General Mills
That's
for North
huge.
America. And Jen looks at him and goes, if you're in, I'm in. And so he sends his resignation.
Were you guys there in this meeting?
We were in a lot of those meetings. In that specific meeting, we weren't. No,
So
it was
you're-
just John and Jen and Jen's people.
How exciting. That's
Yeah.
great.
But he told the story.
Wow.
So, yeah, he said, it was like, I'm in, if you're in. He sends his resignation to General Mills. And meanwhile, we're looking at this like, this isn't happening. We're like,
And this all came together because you guys believed in it,
Yeah.
did not quit. So what are those, because this is all about helping people get through a breakthrough. Maybe they have a good idea and they just don't know if they should give up or continue to go forward. Maybe it's a fitness goal that they just feel like they're maybe it's just being a parent. Maybe it's closing a real estate deal, and you get to the point in that transaction where you're just like, you know what, I can't get through. What are some of the things you pulled from? Was it your transition from Russia to the U.S.? Was it your mom made you go get a job and you just worked like a dog to get it done? When you didn't quit on that company and it became a company that someone like Jennifer Gardner is a part of, what did you pull from to get through that experience?
I mean, at least in my mind, there was never an option of giving up, right? Even when, right, so the day after we invested and lost all these stores and it was really looking pretty grim and nobody else would invest and the company needed a lot more than just
Failure
our
is like no
investment.
option, is basically what you're saying.
Right.
I think
so,
we thrive on challenges too. Like that's the spice of life. We don't like to live mediocre lives, so we like the challenges. So we live on.
So is it you set yourself a bar that no matter what it takes, I'm going to reach higher and push harder, so this is just another notch in the belt when we beat this thing and
right.
win?
Everything is the stepping stone.
well, and it's that, and it's also about just, right, the perseverance and not giving up.
That's it.
And making positive change. So with these brands, we're actually making a positive change in the world. It's not like, just making money.
And so a lot of the brands are very similar to that. So I'm sure there's lots of stories about how you got involved, because you'll consult if brands are already up and running and doing well, but you'll even roll up your sleeves and get dirty when it's early on and they need that extra TLC of how to shape the corporation, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So you guys are truly different because not only are you guys family, with your beautiful fiance sitting here too, right? It's a part of a team, which I love that, but it's more like we'll do whatever it takes to win whatever we're fighting against, whether it's a new company, whether it's angel seed, or whether it's, hey, we're just advising and consulting on trying to get this thing launched.
I feel like for us, if we believe in it, right, at that point, we really believed in Once Upon a Farm. We knew the
Yes.
benefits of fresh baby food versus shelf stable. So I feel like if we believe in it, we will go all out and do whatever it takes, right? If you start no longer believing in it, right? If something is failing and you just don't have faith anymore, or you're not passionate about it, then it's gonna die.
Right.
Right? Because if you just no longer are emotionally connected, or you don't believe in the mission or what the purpose is, then it's kind of hard to roll up your sleeves and be all about it, right? But we try to get involved with companies that not only are going to be really great kind of financial investments, so to speak, but also that we can have an emotional connection to, because we really believe in what they're doing, that what they're doing is actually making a discernible social impact as well, right?
And how has technology and the way that the world's changing with maybe either social media or just the internet in general, either advancing or helping you guys review things faster or audit companies sooner? How much of social media, internet, and trafficking is a part of your guys' business model right now?
Well, I think social media allows the consumers to have access to, especially like mid United States, where they don't have maybe a Whole Foods around the corner. They're able to order online or have access to the products that we're so accustomed to on the different coasts.
And there's so many of them. You guys are doing anything from baby food, like we talked about, to women's health care, to gym products. So talk about the lane that you're in, because your Cambridge company is so diverse, but it's also really holistic and health and wellness as well. So talk about the passion and mission statement of the company itself. Give that a little plug.
So what we say is our mission is to incrementally revolutionize the nutritional landscape of the United States, right? So we feel that with each investment that we make, we have the opportunity to make an incremental impact, right? We're not going to change the entire $2.4 trillion food industry.
Sure.
It's big. It takes a lot of players, but incrementally we can do our part, right? And if last year our brands collectively sold 150 million different units, right? So you take up all the baby food pouches, all of the salmon, right? All
Right.
of the tampons,
That's a lot.
all of
That's
the
a lot.
different things. So that's 150 million individual units. That means it's 150 million choices that consumers made in this much, much bigger, right, economy to choose a better product, less processed, right, organic or non-GMO. And so even though 150 million items seems like it's a very big number, it's actually an extremely small number relative to, right, there's over 300 million people that are constantly eating, drinking, shopping, consuming, drinking a water bottle, eating a bar. So it's actually a very small number, but it made an incremental benefit.
That's right.
Right, and if next year we make a slightly bigger benefit, right, or impact and so on, then that our investments will eventually
Will grow.
have a meaningful
growth.
change to the industry, and hopefully others will see what we're doing, and others have, right, and also contribute.
And so how does, you guys doing great stuff, great work, philanthropists, I get the whole thing. Beyond that is a brother and sister that came from Russia, and both are shining examples of what you can do if you're dedicated and believe in what you do. So how do you guys balance your family, work, life relationship? And sit at the same table and get along and make tough choices. And what if you believe in something and what if you just don't? I mean, how do you guys decide without playing brother or sister on the whole game?
I mean,
we're pretty eye to eye on a lot of things.
And if we disagree on something, then we discuss it, right? Well,
we talk every day, all day.
Why do you disagree on this, right? If I'm seeing this and you're seeing this, what am I not seeing, right? And we just kind of go through it and have a logical discussion, and then usually
we take the ego out of it, basically.
That's key.
Right. We really don't. It's not about ego at all.
It's a team. We just want to win. So you can't win when you have two egos. So
I love the mission. Want to win, believe in your product, fight for what's right, adversity, don't quit on what's the good thing to do, have a better, I think the best product always wins, but the best team makes that product something that people can understand a little bit better. So tell us about your guys' personal life. I know I've seen you guys at the gym. I know you're in shape. I know you're very healthy, so you believe you follow your own guidance of holistic living. So what is life outside the boardroom? Because you guys are high profile, dealing with superstar celebrities, making big choices. What's life for you guys on the home front like?
So yes, we work out. We sometimes when we have a break get to travel. We're involved in our community, and a few charities there. But a lot of the time, I mean, work is fun. Like we get to travel for work, but it,
So you use work as sort of your ability to see different places.
I'm married. I'm trying to start a family. So
congratulations on that. And what's your big date? Have you chosen one yet?
Yes. So Lacey and I, we were engaged. We got engaged in September.
Beautiful ring too, by the way. I see it over there blinging.
We're getting married in November of this year.
Congratulations.
Locally in Orange County. And we love to travel. We love to explore. We love to learn. And yeah, I mean,
I'm happy I get a sister-in-law. So.
That's right. Because you don't have any other siblings, so you're getting a sister.
Right, and her and I do a lot of things
You
together.
have a brother now, so.
And we're both involved in a lot of charitable causes. So I'm very passionate about JNF, which is the Jewish National Fund.
Love the JNF. Love it.
And Lacey's very passionate and is a leader for JDRF, which is a charity for advancing research against type 1 diabetes.
We do shoes that fit, which give back shoes to the underprivileged that can't afford.
That's great. So what can people do to get behind shoes that fit, for example? How can the audience support, bring awareness, or learn more about that organization?
Sure. So with Shoes That Fit, they partner usually with organizations or companies.
Okay.
And then the company itself, and sometimes the company and all of its employees that contribute, come in with a pot of money to buy a new pair of shoes for every single student at a school.
Great.
So
right. Last year we chose a school that was local in Santa Ana.
Okay.
And we delivered over 500 shoes.
Wow. What's it like for those kids when they get those shoes?
Oh my God. It was just amazing. Some of them have holes in their shoes and they put them on right away with a huge smile on their face. And then Previous year we've done it
in North Las Vegas.
North Las Vegas, and it was just so funny because the kids would come up to us and be like, "Where are the Air Jordans?" As
Kids
we're
are
getting,
like
I know, it was just so. But I mean, it's everything for them. Sometimes they only get a pair of shoes a year.
I know.
And they're playing in them.
That's right.
And if you're going to school and right, you have holes in your shoes, you don't have confidence, you're not focused on schoolwork. Right. When we came from Russia in our first year here, I mean, I remember I wore soccer cleats because those are the only shoes that we had.
Right.
And I remember being made fun of for wearing those shoes. And I wasn't focused on my schoolwork, right? I was sad. I was like, why are these kids making fun of me?
We weren't fitting in. So it just disrupts.
Yeah, no kid should feel that way.
Right.
No one should feel like they don't fit in. So the fact that you're giving back is really impressive. And I think the fact that you're able to work as a team and have great vision and make good choices is even more impressive. How do we give advice to the young up-and-coming hustler who maybe is working at a service job that isn't happy, and you're like, look, I got fired from that job because I wasn't happy. I didn't want to follow the rules. Yeah. So how do you tell someone to navigate and follow their own compass and never give up? What's the advice for those kind of people?
So I would suggest, set a goal. Start building relationships in that interest that you want to take your life to. Surround yourself with people you can learn from. Then eventually build a team of people because you can't do everything by yourself.
Right.
So the best advice that I received on this topic was that you're the average of the 5 closest people to you, right?
Interesting. Let me stop for a second. So that's very profound. You're the average of the 5 people who you spend the most time with, is what you're saying.
So better surround yourself.
Right. So if you want to be, let's say, a real estate developer, then try to go to real estate developing events, meet people that are actually doing it and learn from them, maybe work from them, right, in order to understand it. If you want to be a musician, right, and you want to play guitar, hang out with the people that play guitar really well, right? If you want to be a painter, right, so you just...
raise your bar, basically.
Right, so if you're at a place where you're not comfortable, shift your place to where you aspire to be, no matter where that is.
Is that a mindset?
Don't just talk about it, do it. A lot of people dream but never...
Or maybe is it because maybe they're insecure, they're afraid of failure, letting parents down, judgment, expectations?
Well,
I think it could be intimidating to know, well, how do you go from being a barista at Starbucks to being to developing $100 million high-rise building, right? It's like, well, how do you even do that? Well, you don't do it overnight, right? You're not gonna start your real estate development company and build a high-rise the next day.
Right.
But if you do it right and you learn, maybe 15, 20 years into it, or maybe 10 years into it, you'll be building the high-rise. Right? But you have to get out of that, if this is what you want, right? And start learning and immersing yourself. And it doesn't happen overnight. There's no magic button that you press, right? You have to just get involved in something that you aspire to.
Yeah, and Cambridge didn't start because you were working at a Denny's. It started because you went from a Denny's to working for somebody else in politics, to investing in real estate in the downturn, learning business and politics and how they relate together, to then branching out into trying a food product, and now you guys are moguls. So the advice for anyone on this podcast, listening, wanting to learn how to get better, is very simple. Do the work, get around smart people, bind with your family, find a teammate that shares your vision, and just go all in. So how can our membership, how can our team, how can our family follow you guys?
Well, so our website is CambridgeSPG.com, where you can see some of our current brands that we're invested in.
And then when you see our current brands, you will see them on store shelves in your local Whole Foods or Ralph's.
And let me stop there because I love, my favorite brand that you guys are a part of is Vive.
Oh my God.
Vive is my favorite brand. If you don't know Vive, literally I go to Ralph's or to Albertsons and I buy every single one on the shelf. First of all, they only have 20 at a time, so produce more, please.
Yeah.
And more importantly, like, they're so good for you. I like the immunity boost. Mm-hmm. It's the tang orange flavor, and I drink it every morning. I'm never sick because of it, and so it's a great product. So I'm not going to make you pick and choose a favorite, but what's one product before we split here that you want to talk about if we haven't talked about yet?
We can highlight one. Do you want to go on 1, 2, 3? So we can say what product?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
One,
One,
2, 3.
Toasty.
Toasty Super Bites.
Yeah, so we're obsessed with Toasty Super Bites. It's this amazing plant-based protein nut and seed bar that tastes delicious. It's the crunchiest.
Where can we
it's
pick it up at?
kosher,
Where can we
it's
buy?
non-GMO. It has a crunch. It's not an extruded bar that you see in so many bars that are on the market.
Where's it sold at? Where can we buy it
It's sold
from?
at Pete's Coffee. It's
Pete's
sold
Coffee.
at Pavilions.
Love
It's sold at Nectar Juice
certain
Bar.
certain Chevron Extra Miles.
Love
Or
it.
Tosi.com, which is the best because it's just TOSI.com.
Love that.
Right.
So,
And then you can get it direct, and it's at the best.
so go buy Tosi, go try Vive, and go crush it, and follow these people at Cambridge, and you will not be sorry, because I can't wait to see what happens next time I meet you guys. It's been
Thank you
a
for
pleasure. Thank you for being the family you are and being on our family. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you.